I'm back and forth on this, and I am a dog person. Naomi Watts co-stars with a scene-stealing dog in The Friend, a movie about grief and moving on and big dogs.
And rent-controlled apartments in New York.
Oh, yeah.
This is a very New York movie in all the best ways. It feels very deeply steeped in like specific places and like the kind of people you've got to deal with at the elevator of your co-op. And anyway, it's a very New York movie, but I think that the themes of resilience and grief and learning to move on are all very, very universal. And we've got some lovely performances here. So check it out. It's in theaters now. And subscribe to us because this is the kind of art housey thing that we enjoy. I think this is an art house movie. It's in theaters and multiplexes, but I think this is the kind of thing that your specialty cinemas might enjoy showing to you, right?
It is middlebrow independent. I don't know what the term is here, but it's, it's got enough famous people in it that you could, it's not like you're talking somebody into something really experimental and challenging,
No, it's very affirming and very accessible.
I guess I saw it the other way around, like I'm the emotional support human and it's the dog that can't cope. What?
Bill Murray is this kind of rascally but brilliant writer and professor. And when he dies at the beginning of the film, he commits suicide. We don't see it. We know it has happened. Naomi Watts is his prize student and great friend. And the person to whom he bequeaths his Great Dane, named Apollo, played by this magnificent creature named Bing. I mean, this dog has got to have a SAG card. This dog is up there with like Uggy from The Artist as far as like taking cues and emoting the right amount when necessary and like going over to the mark and stopping. Like, I don't know how this dog does it, but he's good.
I don't know how much of the dog's performance was created in the editing room, but he's giving a performance.
He is. He's giving face. And so so this is all about how Naomi Watts has to figure out what to do with the dog. She is not a dog person. And this thing is enormous, way too big to be coexisting with her in her tiny one-bedroom apartment off of Washington Square Park. It is rent controlled, and this is why she still lives there. It's also close to work. She's a creative writing professor at, I don't know whether it's NYU or the New School, but it's like somewhere in that neighborhood.
Sure.
They never say. So this is her journey. It's how she deals with it with friends and with his various ex-wives. It's a fantastic ensemble cast. Carla Gugino is in it. Constance Wu. And Dowd. The great Ann Dowd is her next door neighbor in New York. This is the kind of building you want to live in. Ann Dowd is her next door neighbor.
New York fantasy, yes.
Throwing New Year's Eve parties. And so it's really lovely. It's about how she navigates the nuts and bolts of having this dog in New York, whether that's taking it, walking it up the stairs instead of the elevator, or taking it in a cab to go to the vet, or whatever it is. It's got an incredible sense of place in terms of, life in Brooklyn brownstones or in the Village. It feels like a very literary New Yorkie movie, but not in a way that is too sparkling or too smug. It's very accessible, I think, no matter who you are. Naomi Watts is absolutely lovely in this and has to act with the dog like the vast majority of the time, this dog that clearly outweighs her. So it's about a lot of things, but if you are a dog person, you'll find it quite moving.
Yeah, I'm back and forth on this, and I am a dog person. Let's be clear. I love dogs, think they're great, and I think the dog in this movie is terrific. This movie's trying to throw its arms around a lot. It's trying to be a movie about sort of literary New Yorkers, which I think is really hard to write in a way that is convincing, because you can either make them not smart enough or, like, as you say, too sort of smug and like airless. And I don't think the movie ever quite nails how it wants to capture these characters and if it's kind of goofing on them or not. And then the grief stuff, like when we finally get to like well into the film, the scene where like Naomi Watts like breaks down. Yes, that scene totally works and it's great and it's a powerful moment. But boy, the getting there is just like, You know, and after a while, I feel like the dog kind of turns into this metaphor. You know, like grief is like lugging around 110-pound Great Dane through the streets of Manhattan and getting in everybody's way and having people look at you side eyes and being inconvenienced. You know, I guess I get it, movie. So yeah, I don't know. I never fully invested. Like, I think there are individual scenes that really work. I loved Naomi Watts' work. I think is some of the best she's done in a while. You know, I wanted more Carla Gugino. I wanted more Dowd. You know, like you give me a taste of that. I'm like, more, please. Y'all are great. Constance Wu, you know, like her character is wonderfully terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I think this movie is a little clunky, but I admire what it's trying to do, and I'm on board for it. And I think at the moments where it achieves what it's trying to do, you know, it's at its best, but there I don't know that there's enough of them. This is from the directorial duo of Scott McGehee and David Siegel. They did
What Maisie Knew.
They did Ways to Do. They did Suture. They did The Deep End with Tilda Swinton. And I'm generally down for their stuff. And this is a little more twee than they usually get, I think. So I could see this being divisive. I think there are people who are really going to sort of clutch this film to their bosom, and then other people who sort of just kind of look askance at the whole thing. And I'm somewhere in the middle.
For sure. I mean, there's a sentimentality with the dog, for sure. And he's so expressive.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a great metaphorical significance to him. You know, when he like climbs into her bed, she's got to figure out who she is with this thing in her life, you know, and that it stands for a lot of things. The flashback structure with Bill Murray is very effective in that they dip in just enough to indicate what that relationship was like and why all these women would be totally taken by him, although he's absolutely untrustworthy. The fact that it takes a long time for her to break down, I think, is a product of how she's just in triage mode, and she's trying to figure this out day to day, because not only is the place rent controlled, so she doesn't want to move, but she can't have the dog there, and she's trying to like sneak it by the super. And I think day in, day out, she's trying to figure out, how do I make this thing work? I don't want this thing. And then coming to grips with, oh, wait, do I want this thing? And what sacrifices am I willing to make for this thing? And at the end of the day, it's about a woman who has lived her life for everybody else but herself.
Right. There's
the reason she's in this apartment, the reason she has this dog, none of it is her own choosing. The life she's living is not of her own choosing. It's what she has done for others that has led her down this path to where she is now stuck. And the dog, ironically, may be her salvation. And that sounds cheesy, but it's so well done. It's so well acted, and so like day in, day out in New York in ways that feel rich and detailed, that I went with it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like there is a scene where Bill Murray's character talks about how like she's a fixer, you know, she's always fixing things for other people. And so, yeah, it is about her sort of kind of having to reclaim her own voice as a writer, having to reclaim her control over her own life, which is tied into being in control of the dog and not letting the dog be in control of her. Like, yes, that's all there on paper. It's just a question of how it plays. So, yeah, I'm not going to begrudge anybody digging this movie. And I think if you hear this description makes it sound like something you want to go see it, then you should. And I think you'll get a lot out of it. And even if you don't, I think you'll come away with that dog performance, you know? Right.
So good. I'm not sure we mentioned this. This is based on a novel by Sigrid Nunez.
Yes.
So maybe some of that literary stuff reads better on the page, right? There's a lot of like narration of other people's writing.
Right.
That takes place here. Also want to mention Noma Dumezwemi, who is the widow at the time when he dies. There are 3 different wives at different times and different lovers, but she's very good as very wise and kind of warm as the widow who is forced to tell her, like, look, you got to take this dog.
Right.
I like the dynamic between all the different women. I think I like a lot too, because it could have been prickly, it could have been jealous, but like they all kind of like they see each other, like, yeah,
there's an acknowledgement of, you know, how you get involved with this cat, you know.
Yes, and his dog. So I'm going to say from 1 to 10, I realize we need to specify that our scale is from 1 to 10, because people are like, wait, 2.5 out of 5 or out of 10? Our scale is always out of
1
10
to 10 or 0 to 10, actually.
I'm going to say for this, Like a 7.9. It's quite lovely.
Okay. I'm a 6.5. I think there's
Okay.
good stuff here, and it really does kind of come down to taste and how it lands for you. I could see this being a movie that I would totally be on its side, and it just didn't quite get me there.
All right. The Friends in theaters. Woof woof. Let us know if you see it.